97% of men over 50 miss the exact moment a woman begins to flirt with them. Not because they are slow, out of touch, or unaware, but because attraction no longer looks the way it did decades ago. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't come wrapped in obvious signals or dramatic gestures. It arrives quietly. She isn't going to grab your arm and giggle. She isn't going to lean in and say, "I like you," or boldly ask you out for drinks. That version of attraction belongs to a different stage of life. What replaces it is something more subtle, more respectful, and far easier to miss. Instead, she asks a question, a soft question, a casual question, one that sounds harmless on the surface but quietly opens a door. And if you don't recognize it for what it is, that door closes just as quietly as it opened. You walk away thinking it was just a pleasant conversation. She walks away thinking, "I guess he's not interested." Nothing went wrong. You didn't say anything inappropriate. You simply didn't realize what she was truly asking. This is how moments slip away, not with rejection, but with misunderstanding. After 50, attraction doesn't disappear. It changes its language. It shows up as sideways glances, offhand remarks, and curious little questions women use to test the waters without risking embarrassment or rejection. In this video, you'll learn to recognize those moments. You'll understand what she's really asking, why it matters, and how to respond in a way that keeps the connection alive, without chasing, without pressure, and without pretending to be someone you're not. Because the truth is simple. After 50, most men don't need to try harder. They just need to notice more. To understand why these moments are so easy to miss, you have to understand what changes psychologically as people age, especially women. After 50, most women are not interested in games, drama, or emotional risk without reason. They've lived, they've loved, they've been disappointed, and because of that, they move with more care. Direct flirting can feel exposed, obvious interest can feel risky, so instead of stating desire outright, many women choose something safer, curiosity. Questions become a way to explore attraction without putting their dignity on the line. When a woman asks you a personal or slightly probing question, she is often doing something very specific. She is checking emotional safety. She is asking herself, is this man present? Is he comfortable with himself? Is he open or closed? These questions are not interviews. They are not small talk. They are emotional feelers designed to see how you respond under gentle pressure. Your tone, your calmness, your ease with the moment matter more than the exact words you choose. This is where many men misread the situation. They hear the question literally and answer defensively, jokingly, or cautiously, without realizing that the question itself is the signal. From a psychological standpoint, this approach allows her to lean in without falling forward. If you respond with warmth and grounded confidence, she feels safe enough to stay. If you deflect, minimize, or shut it down, she retreats, quietly, respectfully, and without explanation. Once you understand this, everything changes. You stop hearing just questions and start recognizing invitations. And that brings us to the first and most revealing question of all. On the surface, this question sounds playful, almost lighthearted. But when a woman looks at you, smiles slightly, and asks, "So, how old are you?" and then adds that small word, "really," she is not asking for a number. She already knows you're not 30. She's not playing a guessing game. What she's actually doing is checking how you feel about yourself. She's sensing whether you carry your age like a burden or like a quiet badge of honor. This moment reveals more than most men realize. Your response tells her whether you are comfortable in your own skin or still wrestling with time. Many men stumble here by turning the answer into a joke about getting old, dodging the question, or making themselves smaller with self-mockery. She may smile, even laugh, but inside, the energy shifts. What she's drawn to at this stage isn't youth, it's presence. It's the feeling that you're still engaged with life, not apologizing for the years you've lived. Men who stand out after 50 aren't trying to look younger. They've made peace with their timeline. A grounded response doesn't need to be clever. It just needs to be calm and assured. Something like, "old enough to know what matters," and young enough to enjoy the ride, or said with a slow smile, "You want my age or my attitude?" I once spoke with a man named Rick, 64, silver-haired and well-dressed. A woman at a jazz lounge leaned in and asked him, "How old are you really?" He laughed and replied, "Too old for you." She smiled, but the spark faded almost immediately. Later, he realized the truth. He didn't just dodge the question, he dodged the moment. These questions aren't traps, they're invitations, and how you answer decides whether the door stays open or quietly closes. At first, this question can feel personal, sometimes even a little uncomfortable. But when a woman asks it with a calm tone and genuine curiosity, it isn't judgment. It's interest, expressed carefully. She isn't asking for your entire romantic history. She's not looking to analyze your past. What she's really asking is something much simpler and much more important. Are you emotionally available now? Is there space in your life for someone like me? This is where many good men unintentionally close the door. Some respond by unloading old wounds, divorce stories, betrayals, disappointments they haven't fully processed. Others grow defensive or dismissive, saying things like, "Marriage? Tried that once. Never again." Both reactions send the same message, even if it's not intended. There's no room here. A grounded response doesn't overshare and it doesn't retreat. It's calm, honest, and forward-facing. Something like, "Life kept me busy for a long time, but I have space now." Or, "I just haven't met the right person yet." Simple, steady, open. I remember a man named Gerald, 67, who met a woman at a community garden. They bonded over small conversations, plants, weather, quiet laughter. One afternoon, she smiled and asked, "So how come a man like you isn't married?" He froze, gave a stiff, guarded answer, and quickly changed the subject. She stopped coming to the garden soon after. Later, Gerald told me, "I thought she was just being polite. I didn't realize she was asking because she was considering us." That's the pattern. These questions don't announce themselves as moments of attraction. They arrive quietly, disguised as curiosity, and when you answer with peace instead of defensiveness, you show her that your past is settled and your present is open. And that makes all the difference. This question catches many men off guard. Some hear it as a compliment, others treat it like a trap. But when a woman asks this, she isn't asking about your dating history. She's checking something much more personal. What she's really asking is, do I have a chance? She wants to know whether the connection forming right now matters more to you than age, labels, or assumptions. She's also checking whether she'll be compared to younger women, past relationships, or an ideal she can never compete with. Men tend to mishandle this moment in predictable ways. Some puff up and brag, listing younger dates as if they're proving their worth. Others shut it down completely by saying, "I'm probably too old for you," or "You wouldn't want someone like me." Both responses quietly close the door she just opened. A stronger response keeps the focus on connection instead of comparison. Something like, "I don't date by age, I date by how I feel with someone," or "Energy matters more to me than numbers." These answers don't avoid the question. They reframe it in a way that makes her feel seen. I knew a man named Marcus, 59, sharp dresser, easy confidence. He met a woman at a bookstore, mid-40s, curious and engaged. After coffee, she leaned back and asked, "Do you usually date younger women?" He paused and said calmly, "I like women who bring good energy into my life. Age doesn't matter much if the connection is real." She smiled, not politely, but with interest. That conversation led to dinner. Dinner led to more. Because when a woman asks this question, she's often seeking permission. Permission to explore the possibility without putting herself fully on the line. And how you answer tells her whether it's safe to step closer or safer to step away. This question sounds like casual conversation, but it carries quiet weight. When a woman asks it, she isn't just making small talk. She's comparing, measuring, wondering whether she fits somewhere in the picture you carry in your mind. She's not asking you to build a checklist. She's asking whether you're open or still chasing an image that no longer serves you. At this stage of life, women want to know if a man is curious about who they are, not just what they look like. Many men make the same mistake here. They answer too literally. They start listing traits, athletic, adventurous, tall, stylish, likes travel, without realizing what they're communicating. What she hears isn't preference. She hears limitation. A stronger answer speaks about qualities, not appearances, about connection, not fantasy. You might say something like, I value someone who's thoughtful, curious, and able to laugh when life gets complicated, or I'm drawn to women who bring a sense of calm and warmth into a room. Notice how those qualities are things she can already recognize in herself, especially if she's asking the question because she feels something. I once spoke with Elliot, 62, a retired firefighter. While volunteering on a community project, a woman working beside him asked, "So what kind of woman do you usually go for?" Without overthinking it, he said, "Someone who makes a place feel peaceful just by being there." She didn't respond right away, but later she stayed behind to help clean up. As they finished, she smiled and said, "I was hoping I was your type." That's the power of answering with presence instead of performance. Psychologically, this question is about self-selection. She's deciding whether to lean in or pull back, and your answer quietly gives her permission to choose. This question usually arrives with a smile, sometimes a soft laugh. It sounds like a compliment, and it is, but it's also a test of how you handle warmth and attention when it's offered directly. What she's really asking is whether you can stay present in the moment without retreating, whether you can receive interest without hiding behind humor or deflection. At this stage of life, chemistry isn't built through clever lines, it's built through comfort. Many men instinctively pull away here. They downplay the moment with jokes like, "Only on good days," or "Guess you caught me at the right time." It seems harmless, but it subtly shuts the door. The spark fades because the energy wasn't met. A better response stays light but grounded. Something like, "Only when I'm around someone who brings it out in me," or "I save it for moments that matter." These answers don't overreach. They simply acknowledge the connection without pressure. Alan, 68, a quiet widower, once told me about a dinner party where a woman leaned in and asked, "Are you always this charming, or is it just tonight?" He smiled and replied, "That depends. Are you always this curious, or am I just lucky?" He said she held his gaze a little longer after that, the kind of look that says, "Now we're in it together." This question isn't really about charm, it's about chemistry. She's offering you a chance to step from friendly into something more, without forcing anything. Your role isn't to impress, it's to stay present when the moment shows up. When a woman asks this, the conversation has already shifted. This is no longer casual curiosity. She's no longer speaking in hypotheticals. She's wondering whether there is room in your life for someone like her. On the surface, it sounds simple. But beneath it, she's asking something deeper. Are you emotionally available or emotionally closed? She's listening carefully to whether your life has space for connection or if you've quietly decided you're done. Many men answer this question in ways that unintentionally shut everything down. They say things like, "I'm set in my ways," or "I enjoy my freedom too much," or "relationships are complicated." Those responses may be honest, but they sound final. And final is not what she's looking for. She isn't asking you to promise anything. She's asking whether possibility still exists. A grounded response leaves the door open without pressure. You might say, "I took time to build a good life, but I'm open to sharing it with the right person." Or, "I've learned a lot and I'm still open to something meaningful." William, 71, calm and confident, once told me about an art gallery conversation where a woman asked him this very question. He replied, "I spent time learning how to be a better man. Now I'm ready for a better kind of love." He said her eyes never left his after that. Women later in life are just as sensitive to rejection as men. Instead of stating desire outright, they ask careful questions like this. Brave questions, disguised as curiosity. And how you answer tells her whether it's safe to step closer or wiser to step back. This is the closest thing to a confession most women will make at this stage of life. Even if it's said with a smile or a light tone, there is real vulnerability underneath. When a woman asks this, she is no longer testing the waters. She's standing at the edge. What she's really asking is simple and brave. Do you see me? Do I matter to you? Is this something you could imagine? Many men freeze in this moment. The weight of it catches them off guard. They go neutral, deflect, or change the subject. not because they're uninterested, but because they're unsure how to handle the vulnerability being offered. Unfortunately, neutrality feels like rejection. The best response here isn't clever, it isn't long, and it doesn't over-explain. It's honest, calm, and direct. Something as simple as, yes, said with steady eye contact, is often enough. If it's true, you can add, I already am, and then stop talking. Let the moment breathe. Charlie, 66, a former military officer, once told me about a sunset walk when a woman asked him this exact question. He paused, looked at her, and said, "Yes, I already am in my mind." She took his hand and didn't let go. Psychologically, this moment matters because she has stepped forward without armor. She's trusting you not to minimize or dismiss her courage. When a woman asks this question, she isn't asking for reassurance. She's offering herself into the possibility of something real, and your response decides whether that possibility takes its first step or quietly ends where it began. By now, one thing should be clear. These questions are not casual. They are not random, and they are almost never asked without reason. They are quiet openings, emotional doors women unlock carefully, hoping you'll notice. After 50, attraction doesn't disappear. It simply becomes more respectful, more restrained, and easier to misread. Women are no less interested. They are just more careful with how they show it. Instead of bold gestures, they offer curiosity. Instead of confessions, they offer questions. The mistake most men make isn't saying the wrong thing. It's not realizing that a moment is happening at all. They answer politely, safely, and neutrally, then walk away thinking nothing was there. Meanwhile, she walks away thinking the same. Here's the truth. You don't need better lines. You don't need to try harder. You don't need to become someone else. What you need is awareness, presence, the willingness to meet the moment instead of stepping around it. When you answer with calm confidence, without apology, without defensiveness, you signal something powerful. You show that you're grounded, that you're open, that you're still engaged with life and connection. Once you learn to recognize these questions for what they are, you'll start seeing interest where you once saw only politeness, warmth where you assumed there was just small talk, and genuine attraction where you once believed you were invisible. Because the real question is never what she asks. The real question is whether you choose to step forward when the moment arrives or let it quietly slip away.